Jose Pasillas.
Yes.
Incubus. Welcome to BeatIt.tv, the drummer's website.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you for taking time to talk to us.
No problem.
You have been quoted to have said that you've never actually took any formal training in drumming.
Right.
And that it's got its upsides and downsides.
Right,
so
right.
What would those upsides and downsides be for you?
I think I've always thought it was, well, some of the, I'd say positive things was that I never felt really restricted to any one thing, and I felt like I kind of, because I didn't take lessons, I kind of devoured everything that I listened to and just tried to dissect everything that I was listening to, and things that interest me musically. And then but on the other side of it, I kind of wish that I feel like I kind of lack proper technique and even chops, you know. I've always loved marching band, and I did do marching band for 1 year. I think I was in 6th grade. So that was very, very basic teaching of basic reading and some sticking, but it was very, you know, it was kind of switching between playing cymbals, bass drum, snare drum. So I wasn't really focused on any one thing. And that was kind of the only year that I played music in school. So for the most part, I just kind of self-taught. Probably, I did take lessons from Peter Erskine maybe 6 or 7 years ago for probably 8 or 9 months. I'd go there a couple times a month, and he would I just kind of wanted just sort of a mentor, and I've always sort of been interested in jazz, and my feeling was always like, if you could conquer and master jazz, you could kind of play everything. But that takes years and years and years of doing. So I took about a year of lessons with him, which was really cool, and he's such an amazing guy. So it was a really good experience. But so yeah, you know, I mean, I still feel like I could use some training.
Okay, how did you arrive at the configuration that you're using right now? I mean, especially the low, hanging of the toms and floor toms and stuff like that. That sort of evolved over years. I've been playing sort of this setup maybe for like 4 or 5 years now. My setup has always been pretty much the same for the last maybe 10 or 15 years, where I had 2 rack toms, 2 floor toms. But it took me, I would always, at home is when I'd like to experiment and have fun and try different things. Then I would always kind of bring that sort of setup out on the road, and I couldn't, playing at home for me and playing live are 2 different things. And I actually think that not being trained, this is another disadvantage, because if I had one specific sort of technique, I feel like I would apply that whether I'm playing live or at home. But I feel like because I'm at home, I'm more calm, I'm very like stripped down, and I'm very focused. I play totally different than when I play live, with the energy and the adrenaline. And so I would always just sort of like scramble to put my kit back to the way I had it before. And, so it kind of stayed the same for about the last decade or so. But I've always sat really low. I kind of start with my seat. You could unplug that right there. Yeah.
I always started sitting down and having my legs sort of horizontal or perpendicular with the floor, so that the core of my body was easy to, like, I could lift my feet up and sort of have good balance. So that's kind of where I started. And from there, I've always kind of played low, essentially just because I'm short to begin with. And I've always wanted a rim shot, no matter if I was hitting the snare or the tom. And I just like the way it sounded. I didn't know that you weren't really supposed to do that with the toms, especially growing up. And I remember I had a friend, our old manager was friends with Bernie Dressel, who was a drummer for the Brian Setzer Orchestra. So he came out one day and just, he came into my jam room, and I was just asking him for some pointers, and
he just sort of like, let me hear you play, and I was playing, hitting rim shots and all the toms. He's like, why do you do that on every hit? I'm like, I don't know, I like the sound of it, you know? So anyways, I've kind of just always liked that sound, and I kind of, over the last few years, like the feeling of being more on top of my drum kit. So the lower my snare went, the lower my toms went, and the lower everything went. So it just sort of, you know, it just sort of slowly evolved to that way over time.
The Incubus journey has been now, what, 27 years or something like that?
27.
And still going strong. So after all these years, what do you still get out of drumming? What does it do to you now?
Sort of the same. It's the same sort of feeling, you know. The playing live in front of an audience is always the same adrenaline high, and it's pretty much my whole life. I've always been chasing that adrenaline. You know, I've always skateboarded and surfed and done very physical activity, you know, and I think part of it is that adrenaline, you know, and the endorphins that I get. Playing music does the same thing for me. And it was a very creative outlet. I've always been an artist my whole life, drawing and painting, and music is just another extension of it. And I really enjoy playing with my band. You know, I like playing to music, and it's sort of just like a canvas. Yes, the songs are structured, the songs have parts, and relatively from one night to the next are the same, but it's still sort of a blank canvas that every night you're sort of winging it, you know. So just that feeling, you know, it's still there, and it's still as vivid as when I was a little kid.
Mm-hmm.